Okay, killer is here. All okay? Yes. At the end, yeah, everything was okay. So just wait for some people to pop on. Welcome back, everyone. Apologies for that. So I'll explain. We'll wait for some more people to come on, and then I'll explain what happened. What gods did you upset? I'm not sure. I'm not sure which ones I were upset. Thanks, Brad. So I'll explain in just a moment. Exactly. I need to change my clothes. I got completely soaked because we had a hailstorm. It was not. Welcome back, everyone. So as you pop on, I'll just explain quickly what happened. So I started to hear a banging sound behind me, and I thought it was maybe a window was open and there was wind blowing, and then it continued, and then I thought maybe Dylan or one of the dogs was caught up in something, wrapped up in something that was banging against the wall or banging against the door, and I thought, okay, well, but then it continued in a weird way. So I thought, I said, look, I need to check on what this damage is. And I walked out of the room, and there's a window in front of the room, and I could see white, just white. And I was like, okay, what the hell is that? It must be. And then I was listening. I could hear it on the windows, hailstones. It was a hailstorm, and has Max defeated the podcast? So it was a hailstorm, and we have some chickens that we adopted were rescued from a battery, like a battery. It was similar to a battery, and they were outside, so they're not in a house. Well, they have a house, but they weren't in the house. So I was like, oh my goodness, they're not going to survive this storm. So I was at the last moment. I had to run downstairs and check on them and carry a basin on top of my. I didn't wear the hat because I don't want to ruin the hat, but I was wearing a basin on my head. I should have filmed it, but it's like a. Anyway, it hailed when it's bloody hot. Yes, so it wasn't very hot today, but it was hot over the last number of days, so it probably built up over time. So anyway, guys, so apologies for the previous live stream going down. We had a hailstorm here. It seems to have passed, and everything seems to be okay now. Our veggie garden is probably completely destroyed, unfortunately. Wonderful tomatoes from there, but anyway, you don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about what's happening tonight. So I want to show you this video from James O'Brien, and then we'll get into some of the other videos about what's happening this week. So thanks to Brad for the super chat previously. So let's hear what James O'Brien had to say.
Because 1984 is a warning.
Well,
I don't know why you feel the way you do. 1984, recounting a visit to the cinema on April the 4th of 1984. And I'm going to read you quite a bit of it. Because 1984 is a warning. It is an alarm bell designed to make us understand what our future, what our shared future could hold if certain powers and certain forces are allowed to ride roughshod over what we hold dear. Last night, says Winston, to the flicks, all war films, one very good one of a ship full of refugees being bombed somewhere in the Mediterranean. Audience much amused by shots of a great huge fat man trying to swim away with a helicopter after him. First you saw him wallowing along in the water like a porpoise. Then you saw him through the helicopter gun sights. Then he was full of holes and the sea round him turned pink and he sank suddenly as though the holes had let in the water. Audience shouting with laughter when he sank. Then you saw a lifeboat full of children with a helicopter hovering over it. There was a middle-aged woman, might have been a Jewess, sitting up in the bow, with a little boy about 3 years old in her arms. Little boy screaming with fright and hiding his head between her breasts as if he was trying to burrow right into her, and the woman putting her arms around him and comforting him, although she was blue with fright herself, all the time covering him up as much as possible, as if the thought her arms could keep the bullets off him. If you're just tuning in, I'm not providing live coverage from Gaza. I'm reading something from 1984. Although, of course, because the focus of these hatreds can shift according to the interests of power and wealth, it wouldn't be a Jewess, would it, if I were reporting on Gaza? If he was trying to burrow right into her and the woman putting her arms around him and comforting him, although she was blue with fright herself, all the time covering him up as much as possible as if she thought her arms could keep the bullets off him. Then the helicopter planted a 20-kilo bomb in among them. Terrific flash, and the boat went all to matchwood. Then there was a wonderful shot of a child's arm going up, right up into the air. A helicopter with a camera in its nose must have followed it up, and there was a lot of applause from the party seats, but a woman down in the prole part of the house suddenly started kicking up a fuss and shouting they didn't ought to have showed it. Not in front of the kids. They didn't. It ain't right. Not in front of kids. It ain't, until the police turned her out, and I don't suppose anything happened to her. Nobody cares what the proles say. Typical prole reaction. Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. Go on, look me in the eye and tell me that we're not in the foothills of that kind of process. Look me in the eye and tell me that you can't think of half a dozen people in public life at the moment who have come pretty close to suggesting that we should blow these boats out of the water. In fact, you could probably name half a dozen people that have done it.
Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick, Priti Patel. These are the same. These are the type of people. And outside the UK, we have Meloni herself. We have people like Orban. We have members of the far right in France. These are the types of people who have been suggesting, well, we should bomb these boats. We should kill these individuals because they have no right to be here, and they would be the ones who would be sitting in the audience laughing and cheering it on. They just don't do it because they're a bit more savvy now. They're a bit more careful. Just to anyone who's just come on and wondering what's happening tonight, I had a bit of an offline problem with a storm that I had to sort out. But back to this, this leads into what I want to show you next about what's happening tonight in Northern Ireland. Today is the 11th of July. For people who don't know, tomorrow is the 12th of July, which is the celebration or commemoration of the Battle of the Boyne, which took place in 1690, where William of Orange defeated James the Second or James the First, I forget. James the Second, I believe, at the Battle of the Boyne. Didn't actually take place at the Boyne River, but James II, thanks for correcting my poor history there. Didn't actually take place at the Boyne River. It took place for further inland or away from the river itself. So it's but we're going to get to what that's all about. And unfortunately, this is what was built before, and it's probably burning at the moment, or it's completely burnt. This is an image from Malmacan. I'll show you this. So the drone flying over a pile of pallets with a migrant boat on the top saying, "Stop the boats." Veterans before refugees. Stop illegal immigration. Okay, so to give people a bit of context, what the hell are you watching if you don't know? What you're seeing here is bonfire night before the 12th of July. On the 11th of July every year in Northern Ireland, in particular in Northern Ireland, it happens other places as well, but generally in Northern Ireland, a group of people from the Unionist community burn pallets make a massive bonfire, and they burn pallets. Now, some of these pallets, I don't know if you can see very well. Some of them are not the normal color you would associate with a pallet, but some of them are red and some of them are blue. Now, the blue pallets, as far as I know, contain a spray paint which is fire retardant. So it's designed not to burn. It also contains a type of pesticide which keeps bugs and stuff away from eating at the wood. So all of these pallets, or most of these pallets, it seems, have been stolen, not paid for, stolen, and are piled up here in order to be burnt. And on the top of it, as you can see, is a mock-up of a migrant boat. Now, it was later burnt, and I'm going to show you the video of that. Now, what is the justification for this? Now, this is something that this year it's a migrant boat. Last year, I think it was Killer had pointed out in the previous stream that it was a police car, because the unionist community, the loyalist community, were not happy with the police service of Northern Ireland because they wouldn't allow them to march in some area. So what did they do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to, or they were not happy with how they were treated during the riots. I think that was it. So they decided what we're going to do is we're going to steal a police car or make a mock-up of a police car, and we're going to put it on top of the bonfire and burn it. Now, this is pretty, this one is actually quite mild, because generally they have posters of politicians they don't like, figures they don't like. Doesn't even have to be people in politics. Sometimes they have mattresses put on top, and the mattresses have spray painted on them or written on them, "Kill all Taigs." Taigs is another name for Catholics in the unionist community in Northern Ireland. Slang for Catholics. There are hate symbols. And of course, as I mentioned, the pallets, when they're burnt, release toxic fumes. And the day before all of this happens, the fire brigade are normally brought in, and the fire brigade's job is to hose down houses near these bonfires. Hosing down houses because there's a risk, a high risk of the pallet disaster falling down and burning the homes, or just the flames themselves, because they're infernals, spreading to people's homes. Now, in this case, wait till you hear this. In this case, this pile of pallets here have next door to them a pile of asbestos. Now, we know that asbestos is a carcinogenic. There's a risk of cancer if you're working with asbestos, and you have to be very careful. That's why you're not supposed to, if you have asbestos in your home, you're supposed to leave it alone, and it should only be dealt with by experts, by professionals. It's very expensive to remove because it has to be dealt with properly. And what are these people doing? These people are building a mountain of pallets right next to a pile of asbestos. Now, the council and the police should have said this bonfire should not go ahead. But for political reasons, they have decided to let it go ahead, because you cannot upset these idiots. And that's what they fucking are. Sorry for my language, but these people are fucking idiots. Because you have these pallets, which are a risk to public health by burning them, and they're a risk to public health because there's a risk of fire spreading around the community. And you have them right next door to a pile of asbestos that cannot be just shoved into bags and dumped somewhere else or moved somewhere else, because, as we know, asbestos is extremely dangerous to deal with. So the police services of Northern Ireland did not say to them, sorry, you can't have your bonfire. Why? Because they're afraid of the loyalist community. Because the loyalist community would riot. So the police decided, okay, we better let these people have their bonfire and risk public health in both the way of burning stuff and the risk of it burning stuff that they shouldn't be burning, and the risk that it would spread to other places. Well, let's permit them to do this so that they don't riot. I've said before how refugees were not allowed to move into certain areas unless they consulted with the loyalist leaders in those communities. You know, I've mentioned this before. If this is new for anyone, are they applying for the Darwin Award? Well said, Peter. You know, unfortunately, it's not their own lives that would be put at risk. They'll be putting the lives of other people. But you're dead right. Thanks for that. I said this before. There was a group of refugee or a refugee family who were instructed by the council to move into an area because, you know, they're claiming asylum or they're refugees or they're immigrants. I don't remember the full case. But anyway, it's not important. They were going to move into an area. The police service of Northern Ireland told them, you need to go and negotiate with the loyalist terrorists, because that's what they are, terrorists, loyalist terrorists in that community, to get permission to move in. Now, imagine this in any other scenario, in any other country. Imagine if the police told you, actually, you need to go down to the local mafia boss and negotiate with the mafia boss for permission to move into the area. The police, not some guy, not somebody who knows the area, the frigging police. The police told people, you need to negotiate with the loyalist terrorists, negotiate with terrorists, of course, in order to move into the area. And if you don't negotiate, well, you know, we can't be responsible for what may happen to you. So it's like the mafia boss, once again, you know, do as I taught, you know, you don't, that's a nice home you've got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. Those are nice fingers you have. It'd be a shame if something happened to them. And this is what the loyalist paramilitaries do. They want to control the community. And the police are afraid, not just afraid, but are completely intimidated by these individuals. And here we have another example. A risk to public health on so many levels, because it's next to an asbestos dump. It's made with pallets that are painted with fire retardant material. And there's a risk that it falls down or that the fire spreads to other buildings. And no one is talking about this. Nobody is talking about... People are focusing, and rightly so, on the symbolism. The migrant boat on the top of it. But these people do this every year. And everyone is afraid to call them out. We better not say anything bad about this. We better not call out this reckless criminal behavior. Because that's what it is. It's criminal behavior. If you burnt rubbish in your garden, you can be guaranteed that a police officer would be coming around to your house pretty soon and you'd be fined or you'd be punished in some way. But these people can build tower blocks of pallets and burn them and nothing happens. Sorry for my rant, but I think this is important because nothing is going to change. Let me show you the video of it now. Burning. It's beyond ridiculous. Hold on. There we go. They added a tricolour on the top. They added the Irish flag on top. So add, you know, once again, they're saying the loyalist community will say this is an expression of culture. We burn flags as an expression of culture, not our own flag, somebody else's flag. We intimidate asylum seekers and refugees, but it's an expression of our culture. Like, how is this an expression of culture? When I think of an expression of culture, I think of people, I don't know, making cakes, traditional cakes or traditional food, or, you know, having a little fair in the town, you know, playing music. Think of any culture around the world, dance, music, people getting together, people having a good time together. But in the loyalist community, it's foaming at the mouth and cheering on hate. Because what is this other than hate? Two symbols of hate there, or two symbols being hated to or hated at. I can't even get my words right. You know, refugees, we hate refugees, burn them, and we hate the Irish, burn them. Even though, ironically, these people are Irish. You know, it's funny about all of this as well, is because British people in Great Britain would call these people Irish. You know, the loyalists are like, we are British, we're not Irish. But whenever any of them travel to Great Britain, they're like, well, you're Irish. You don't sound British, you're Irish. Where are you from? Northern Ireland. Well, then you're Irish. But they don't like to be called Irish. They prefer to be called British. Now, I know some of them are in Scotland as well. Scotland has a few of these crazy people. But I've said before, if somebody wants to express their culture, express your culture. But how is this an expression of culture? burning flags, burning effigies of asylum. Like, normally when you burn an effigy, it's about a hate figure or some powerful individual. Like, you see it from time to time, people burning effigies of Donald Trump, or burning effigies, you know, in the past they did it of Obama, they did it of the Prime Minister, or, you know, some political figure. But generally the effigy you're burning is of somebody who has power. These are asylum seekers. They have no power. They have less power than you do. You have the right to vote. You have the right to work. You have the right to move, freedom of movement. You're allowed to move from one place to another. Asylum seekers have pretty much no rights. But they have to be there. It's the effigy of them. These people are so fucking brainwashed. They're brainwashed. They're being told by the community leader, your biggest threat is asylum seekers. We need to force these people out. We don't want them coming into our community. I've said before, when it came to the riots back in Southport, or riots in general, why do they riot or protest outside the asylum seeker hotel? Why don't they go to the Home Office? That's where the power is. If you have a problem with the asylum seekers, if you have a problem with where they're being placed, go to the source. Protest in Whitehall. Protest outside the Home Office. Why aren't you doing that? Why are you intimidating people who have no control over the situation? Why aren't you directing your protest towards people who have control? It's almost gone. Like, I'm trying to get into the mindset of the loyalist who looks at this and goes, yeah, this is wonderful. Like, stop the boats. You're in fucking Northern Ireland. Sorry for my language, but I'm having difficulty holding back. You're in fucking Northern Ireland. There are almost no refugees coming there. Like, I'm not justifying this in any way, but if you were in fucking Kent, you could sort of say, okay, well, at least these people have a point, because that's where the boats are. You're in fucking Belfast. You're in fucking Antrim. You're in Fermanagh. You're in Derry. You're thousands, almost 1,000 miles, well, maybe not 1,000, hundreds of miles away from Kent. You never even see most of these people. You've been brainwashed by the fucking loyalists to be angry with people who have no fucking power. What is wrong with you? Like, there are real issues that you should be concerned about. What about the cost of living crisis? What about the NHS? Northern Ireland's NHS is underperforming in respect to other parts of the UK. And what are people angry about? Well, fucking boats. People I'll never see. Honestly, it's... Do these people have a functioning brain? I'm angry. Who are you angry with? Asylum seekers. Where are they? I don't know. I heard that they may be on our street, but don't worry, the asylum seekers will be pushed out by the loyalist paramilitaries. They're cowards. 400-year-old mindset. Let me, guys, you're my calming influence here. It's the north of Ireland, Max. Yes, sorry. Let's not forget that that the bonfire next to a power supply. Yes, Jesus, I forgot about that. Orsted, yes, the bonfire is next to a power station for a fucking hospital. So I don't know which is worse. Is it the fucking loyalists who are burning these things, or is it the police who are turning a blind eye? Honestly, who is worse here? Because you would expect the police, once again, if you're burning leaves without permission, or if you're burning, let's say, burning rubbish in your garden, if you have a garden and you're burning, not even in, it doesn't even have to be your garden, on the street, because this is public property, generally, or it's waste ground. I don't think the loyalist paramilitaries care whether it's private property or not. They just say, we're going to build our bonfire here. Right next to a hospital. And Last year, some people were or injured. I don't know if the guy ended up being killed by it, but somebody got some serious injuries, third-degree burns, I believe. Because they were like trying to get close to the bonfire and some wood fell down and hit them, or somebody was trying to climb it or something. They were probably fucking drunk. The rumors tell me that they're wreaking havoc right around the corner. And this goes on, and then what happens is the people get drunk and then they look for a fight. They don't celebrate and then go home. No, they get fucking drunk and then they go looking for a fight. And who do they want to fight? Well, people who may look like the ones that were on the boat, or tags, as they would describe them. So they'll be looking for a fight with Catholics, who they don't like, and refugees, who they don't like. But sorry, this is an expression of culture. Picking a fight with people and burning stuff. Once again, why can't people express their culture through, I don't know, song and dance, food, music, reading something together, something nice? No, we can't do that. We need to get fucking wasted, and we need to pick fights with people, and we need to burn shit down. Oh, and don't read that comment out of context, I'm sorry. It's the KKK level stuff. It is, yes. True Christian love. And these people claim to be Christians. They present themselves as Christians. I don't remember Jesus saying, burn shit down, pick fights with people, drink lots of wine. Don't worry, I'll switch it from water to wine first. But drink lots of wine, go out there and beat the shit out of your neighbors. Now, I don't remember Jesus saying stuff like this. Well, they have music, yes, but the music is a bit controversial. No, Max, no need to attack one of our national pastimes. To be fair, the British do get wasted. Yeah, look, I'm not against. Please, let me be clear. I'm not against people getting wasted. If people want to get wasted, that's fine. It's what happens after. You should, if you're getting wasted, stay at home or get a taxi home. Have a bit of a laugh with your friends, and that's it. You don't get into a fight with people. You don't deliberately go and fight people. You don't burn stuff. That's not. That should not be getting connected with getting wasted. You should be having a laugh at your feet, or looking at some crappy movie online, B movie, for example, Troll 2. Watch Troll 2 when you're drunk, if you're drunk, but don't get into a fight with people. Drink and be merry, yes, but that's not within the loyalist vocabulary, I think, or context, or mindset, I should say. If there's a storm outside your house, Max, it's got nothing. It's got nothing on your anger. Quite right, thanks. But it's this thing every fucking year. Every year it's the same thing. What we do is build up pallets, we steal pallets, fire retardant pallets filled with chemicals that are designed to keep bugs and insects away, burn them in the local community, but the fire brigade have to get in beforehand and hose down the fucking houses because there's a risk of the fire spreading around the community, around the area. Throw in a few tires, that helps it burn. Throw in a few mattresses, that helps it burn. Don't care about the consequences of burning fucking tires and mattresses for the environmental impact or the public health impact. Once again, if you were to burn a tire in your street, what do you think would happen? This is a question to everyone. Has Max been drinking? No, not yet. I should be. What would happen if you burnt a tire in your street, on your road? How long would it take before the police arrived and fined you or arrested you or something? But if you said, I'm doing it to celebrate King William's defeat of James II in 1690, then that's perfectly fine. Here, do you want another few tires? Do you want to set them up on the street? During the recent riots, police officers were standing by as people were taking bins, public property. Bin is generally public property. You own the bin and then you give it back to the town hall or whatever. But anyway, even if it's your own, taking people's property and burning it in the street. because they had to riot, because they were angry about asylum seekers or alleged asylum seekers involved in crime. But once again, they don't care about the actual catalyst. They're just looking for something to riot about. Do they care about the victims in that case? No, they don't. Like, they probably don't even know about the victims. It's like, yeah, I heard something about somebody being attacked. Yeah, but I don't care. There's a riot on. Let's go and have a riot. What do you expect from Trump supporters, Max? Well said, Mario. Yes, what do you expect from Trump supporters? These people, it's... Don't have a car. I'll use the other tire. I'll use another tire. Be right back. Stupidity is rife in Northern Ireland. Like, this isn't even political anymore. It's just reckless behavior. Like, most people, I can guarantee if you were to ask a lot of the people, why are you burning this stuff? They wouldn't know. Oh, because we always do it. It's like, why are you burning pallets? I don't know. Because we always do it. Do you know that these pallets have been treated with chemicals so that they don't burn or they resist burning? No. Do you think it's a good idea to burn these things? Well, because it's our tradition. No, but do you think it's a good idea? Yes or no? Is it a good idea to burn stuff that should not be burnt? Generally, most reasonable people would say, no, it's not a good idea. Do you think it's a good idea to burn stuff next to a plant or a factory that has asbestos piled up outside? No, it's probably not a good idea. But you're fucking doing it. Simply thugs. But when we think of thugs, we think of, middle-aged men with, no hair and bulldog tattoos. But it's women and children going along to this as well. It's the whole community. The whole community comes out and cheers this on. For anyone who's just seeing this, you're seeing on the screen a boat containing mannequins that's supposed to represent asylum seekers in Belfast or somewhere near Belfast, burning on the top of a pile of pallets, which contains pallets that are treated with fire-retardant material or spray paint in order not to burn. But they're burning anyway, because if the temperature is hot enough, they will burn. And they also contain chemicals to keep pests away. Wonderful stuff to be breathing in. Wonderful stuff to be spreading around the environment, isn't it? With a beard and an admiral hat. Sorry, I know you're passionate tonight. It's really, it's not just tonight about this. It's happening every week, every year. 12th of July. And then what happens on the 12th? So then the real fun begins. So the Orange Order, that wonderful open Christian organization, the Orange Order decide we're going to march in places we don't want to, people don't want us. We're going to march in communities where they say, no, we don't want you. But we're going to march there anyway because we like intimidating people. It's not about expressing because would you go somewhere where people don't want you? Generally, no. So it's a case of let's go there because people don't want us. Deliberately because people don't. They don't care about marching in places where they're cheered on. They want to deliberately go to places where they are not wanted. And the Catholic community in Northern Ireland say, look, we don't want you here. Singing your songs about killing our people, about the blood running through the streets. Listen, don't take my word for it. Look at some of the language from the songs that are played, celebrating loyalist paramilitaries that colluded with the British government to murder people, not just members of the IRA. If your idea is, well, there was a battle between the IRA and loyalists. No, it's a lot more than that. This is something that stuck with me, and I remember hearing this story a long time ago. There was a Catholic woman called Teresa, and she had been stabbed. I'm sorry, let me give a warning before you hear this, okay? This is quite disturbing. She'd been knifed in the face about 15 times, or more than 15 times. Of course, she died. And there was a march through her community, her area. She had lived and died on a street, and she had been murdered by loyalist paramilitaries because they didn't like her because she was a Catholic. A loyalist band march went through her street. This was back in the late 90s or early 2000s. And they were singing Teabag Teresa because her face was like a tea bag, according to them. So these are the time. Can you imagine, a serial killer being allowed to march through through a victim's area, and the serial killer was allowed to sing songs about how they killed their victims? How would this be any different? People singing about someone being stabbed in the face and dying because of that. Not because they were, some criminal, not because it was like Gaddafi or, a dictator or something. No, this was an ordinary member of the public who was in the wrong place at the wrong time, murdered by loyalist paramilitaries. And I'm not picking sides here. The IRA and Republicans engaged in despicable behavior as well. And if they're singing songs about murdering civilians, I'm going to call that out. But we're talking about, this is something that just stuck with me. And they wanted to march down the street, in her street, where her family were still there. And they wanted to sing these songs about and shout slogans about her being stabbed. How can I have respect for these people? How can anyone have respect for this expression of culture? It's a hate march. It's a bunch of hateful people. No respect for human life. For them, it's all a joke. It's all something to celebrate. Christy, thank you so much for that super chat. Getting some attention. Getting same attention as Farage. Yeah, but the difference here with Farage is more, he's less in your face. These people just don't care. They're like, yeah, for us, burning an effigy of asylum seekers, that's perfectly fine, because we don't want them here. It's ironic that they want to march in an area where people don't want them, but they want to burn effigies of people they don't want in their community. And once again, the boats are arriving in Kent. This is probably in Belfast. I don't know the exact location. Belfast is quite far away from Kent. It's hundreds of miles away. These people will never see any boat people. And if they do see asylum seekers, it's generally people who have moved from Great Britain. Farage is subtly hateful. Yes, he's much cleverer. He's not as dumb as these people. These people are just straight out. They have no filter whatsoever. Honestly, I don't know which is worse. Is it people who have no filter, or is it people who are secretive about it? At least what the ones who are so blatant, what they're about. The DUP creationist education minister will actually light a bomb. Yes. I can't move away from this. Yeah, as you said there, Aidan, a DUP minister, education minister, will be one of these going out to light one of these fires. I don't know if this one has kill all tags on it, if it has stop the boats on it. I don't know if it's a different one. This one's in County Tyrone. Thanks so much, Casper. What value is there in this? Once again, if you want to celebrate 1690, if you want to celebrate, victory over King James II, I have no love for King James II. I never met the guy, so I'm not carrying water for him. But surely you can celebrate in a way that's less offensive, less intimidating. What an asylum seeker who's looking at this, what are they supposed to take away from this? Am I welcome in Northern Ireland? Because they keep saying we're not against asylum seeker, we're not against immigrants, we're against illegal immigrants. It's not the immigrants we have a problem, it's the illegal ones. Okay, but as it's not illegal to cross the channel and claim asylum, then what are you talking about here? And one final thing, and then I'll move on, I promise. Stop the boats. Where did that slogan come from? From the fucking Conservative Party. Now, is Rishi Sunak and the Conservative Party going to apologise for this? Are they going to condemn this? They may say, I doubt they'll even be asked about it, but if they do, they say, this is terrible, we don't support this type of action. But people are angry. It's like, we're not happy about it, but people have a legitimate justification because there are too many people coming over. We need to reduce the numbers. So it's any apology be worth nothing. But will Rishi Sunak, who was banging on about stop the boats, who spent millions of pounds and unlimited amounts of political capital on stopping the boats, is he going to apologise? What does he think when he sees this, if he ever sees it? Urban Legend, thanks so much for that super chat. Can we start some rumours about Protestant genocide and see if we get Trump to take them? Yeah, not problem, but unionist, yes. Maybe they can go like the South Africans to the United States. But I don't think there are actual Orange Order marches in the United States. The people who emigrated many years ago, they decided, hey, we're immigrants and we want to maintain our culture. But if you're an immigrant, okay, I'm not even going to bother. Max, the bonfire next to the asbestos one is in Belfast, not Tyrone, where the bonfire is in the picture. Okay, but a bonfire next to asbestos is insane. Like, what happens if the bonfire falls down onto the asbestos? What happens if there's wind and the asbestos gets blown around because of the fire, because it creates heat and it creates these problems? What happens if there's an issue about the fire? What if the fire has to be put out and the fire brigade arrive and they spray the place with water and it goes on the asbestos? And once again, there should not be lighting fires near asbestos. Asbestos is dangerous. It needs to be maintained and protected. They're thinking the asbestos, they'd be okay. Cut the brakes, Jesus. Tell Unionists the Orange Walk is gay. What's that, Brad? That's what people should say. Is like, oh, you're out for Pride March, and they'll be like, what? No, this is not Pride. It's all you guys together. You're having some fun together. Yeah, I don't think they take it too well. Conservatives never apologize. Well said, Frederick. Yes, they will never. They are responsible for this slogan, "Stop the boats." Will they apologize? Of course not. This has nothing to do with us. But people have a legitimate concern. Oh my goodness. Anyway, moving on. I want to cover another story because I can't rant about this all night, or you'll kill me. So let's move on. Angela Rayner in deepening row with union over bin strikes. So Angela Rayner has been suspended. So it says Angela Rayner is embroiled in an escalating row with Unite over her role in the long-running bin strikes in Birmingham. The union announced earlier that it was suspending the membership of the Deputy Prime Minister, who has been urging striking bin workers to accept a deal to end the dispute tabled by the Labour-run City Council. But a Labour source said she had already quit the union and won't be pushed around, branding the announcement a silly stunt. The union, which says it followed a motion approved by delegates as its policy conference, has insisted Rayner is on her membership system. No, she's still there, okay, but they decided to get rid of her. So it's not a case of I quit, it's no, you're fired. The motion also threatened to rethink its relationship with Labour if any of its members are made redundant. So this is not good for both sides. So it seems that the Labour Council are saying, look, we don't have money. And the bin workers are saying, well, you need to pay us the work that we're doing. I think there's an issue about equality, pay equality, which is causing problems. But I'm not sure of all the details of that. But this is, of course, creating a problem for the government. They want to be seen as on the side of trade unions. And unions need to maintain a good relationship with the Labour government because they have influence. The worst position you can be in is having no influence over the government. Noreen Skinner does an amazing Rayner impression. Yes, she does. I haven't seen her for a while. I hope she's putting out more material. I haven't seen her for some time. Unite are a joke. I was a member for 11 months. Then I needed help and they literally said no. I had to be a member for a year. Literally 3 weeks off. No, that's not very good. I'm sorry to hear that, driving in Luton. They should be looking after you. If as soon as you become a member, they should be looking after you. I'm sorry to hear that. Did Noreen do Truss as well? Wonderful version of Truss. But both were really good. Truss and Angela Rayner. She does the lettuce. How about Trump lying about the missile strike on the US airbase in Qatar? I hadn't heard about that. He was lying about it? Lying that it happened or lying that it didn't happen? That's the thing about Trump. Because I heard that there was a strike, but no one was hurt because the Iranians actually gave a warning beforehand. Said like, hey, we're going to attack that base. Get the soldiers out. Because we don't really want to kill anyone. It's just symbolic. And Rachel Reeves is good as well. Rayner wants Scab Labour unite our right to boot her out and the councillors. I don't know the full details of this, but I just think from a political point of view, it's not good if there's a breakdown in the relationship between the trade union and the government. Because while the public may be on board, thanks Rachel for that super chat. While the government may be the public may be on board with the idea that, for example, striking junior doctors or resident doctors is a bad thing. If the government end up in a situation where people continue to go on strike, then it's bad for the government in the long term. So if you pick a fight with the union, this may serve your purposes tactically. You may win a tactical victory, but in the long term, it will undermine you in the long term because, for example, strikes will result in waste not being collected. Maybe they should take it to County Tyrone so it can be all burnt. They don't care about standards. But if it's a case of not being in control, having a good relationship with the unions, then obviously the unions want to have a good relationship with the government because they have influence. So I think it's in the interest of the government to have a good relationship with the union because you don't want strikes, because strikes, while putting them down in the short term may serve your interests, in the long term it won't. Guys, we're way over halfway through the stream, but I was going to give you a comedy moment, but we'll continue. Rupert Lowe. Do you know Rupert Lowe? Former member of the Reform UK party, a former member with Reform UK. Well, he's in a bit of hot water, it seems. MP Rupert Lowe cleared by Standards Watchdog. Actually, it must have been updated 4 hours ago, because I was... a few hours ago, this was not updated and it looked like he was being investigated, but it seems he's been cleared. Former Reform MP Rupert Lowe has been cleared after a brief investigation by the Parliament Standards Commissioner. The Commissioner announced the investigation on Friday morning. So when I had actually put this story together on Friday morning, it looked like he was being investigated, but unfortunately for me, he has been cleared. So nothing really to see here. So what's it about? Commissioner announced the investigation on Friday morning, but he has now put out a statement saying that the complaint has not been upheld. The BBC reported that the investigation was for alleged failing to register money raised in donations via crowdfunder for Lowe's independent rape gang inquiry. Lowe insisted that he had not only received the donations on the 23rd of June, giving him that he had only received, the donations on the 23rd of June, giving him until the 21st of July to register, and that he had demonstrated to the Commission all rules had been followed. So somebody put in a complaint, and it turned out to be not the case. More than 600,000 has been donated to the crowdfunder started by Lowe in March to support a national inquiry into gang-based sexual exploitation across the UK. Okay, but £600,000? Like a national inquiry would cost, the last one cost 200 million. So 600,000 is a bit short of 200 million. Look, I think this is for political reasons. Obviously, he doesn't, why, it's the government that will allow a national inquiry to go ahead. It won't. You can't just say, okay, we're going to collect some money for a national inquiry, and even if you were able to have all the money, like, how are you going to have witnesses come forward? How are you going to appoint judges? You need the government to do that. You need somebody set up by the government, somebody given the task by the government to do this. You can't do it by yourself. So it sounds a bit iffy to me. That 600,000 will be eaten by administration. I have a feeling about that too. Yes. Consultants, maybe a friend of Rupert Lowe, someone like that, may need to be hired as a consultant. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, as you said, a lot of administration costs will, lawyers, people who don't exist will have to be paid, all of these things. Lowe and Jacob Rees-Mogg are proof we have an inbreeding problem, said Brad. Yes, certainly looks like that. I saw the Conservatives had a new guy, or maybe it was Reform, I'm not sure, but they had a new guy, a young politician who looks exactly like Jacob Rees-Mogg. Could have been his son. Not saying that there is any inbreeding, but certainly a thing with the upper classes, isn't it? And Hicks. Okay, I want to move on to another story here before we finish for tonight. I ranted and raved a lot, but I really needed to get that off my chest because it's so frustrating that you have a situation where people's lives are being put at risk because somebody wants to burn some pallets. The environment is being put at risk because somebody wants to burn some pallets. And then, of course, they don't just stop at burning the pallets. They go off and engage in intimidating behavior, either on the night or the very next day. Anyway, so would ID cards be a way to deal with the immigration problem? Well, let's have a listen to this.
Are they going to have digital identity cards, which will make it even more difficult for people to work illegally, which is one of the pull factors?
Do you back those?
I do, because I see them not as a way of stopping people doing things, although it is important to stop people working illegally, but I see them as a way of entitlement. So, for example, if you've got your digital ID card, that should be your entitlement to vote. You shouldn't have to kind of register with all the difficulties of registering to vote. So it can be an entitlement as well as a way of stopping people working illegally. So I've always been a bit, politically incorrect about ID cards. It was from the outset.
You might be on the wrong side of many of your Labour backbenchers on
that. I always have. But I think now with the digital situation, and people have so much digital ID, it depends on whether or not you think the state is going to actually overstep the mark and oppress people. But I think there's things that the government has to do that people want them to do, which digital ID cards.
Okay. This is a fascinating story because I have lived on both sides. So I'm from Ireland, for anyone who doesn't know, and then I moved to Italy some years ago. When I moved to Italy, I was a bit shocked that everyone has an ID card. You have an ID card for everything. When you go to you go and get a prescription, you need to show your ID card. If you're going to vote, you need to show your ID card. If you're going to, if you're applying to be a member of a club or something, you need to have an ID card. If you're stopped by the police on the street, you need to show your ID. So there's, if you're getting a bill, you have to show your ID. So there's a lot of situations where you have to show your ID. Now, when I first arrived, I was like, what the hell? This is really weird. I had a passport because I had to travel, but, Irish people, British people, we don't generally have ID. We have a driver's license, but you generally don't carry that around with you unless it's in your wallet and whatever. But we generally don't have these types of things. And, but once you've seen it, how well it works, then there isn't really a problem. Now, a lot of people are like, well, hey, I don't want to be giving the government all this access to my information. Well, then throw away your frigging smartphone. I don't want the government following me around, tracking my record or tracking my movements. Then throw away your frigging smartphone. So if you have a smartphone, there's no argument for, hey, what about privacy? No, you have no privacy. Like, it's either Google or Apple who have access to your, well, maybe not directly, but this information can be given over to the police if they want it. I think also in the UK, it's possible to break into someone's phone if they believe that there is a risk of terrorism. So, but like for most people, it's not really an issue. But having an ID card is actually of value. I'm not saying that people should agree with me on this, but there is value in having it. It makes life a lot simpler. You know, if you want to set up a bill, you don't need to have a lot of paperwork with you. You just show your ID card and say, okay, this is who you are. But also when it comes to work, there is the issue of many people working illegally. And if they're working illegally, they're not paying taxes on the one hand, but also they don't have protections as a worker on the other hand. So it's not good for the state if you have people working in the black economy, and it's not good for the workers themselves because they're generally paid less and they have no protections. So if you do have an ID card, then if somebody who's working in the company is working illegally, it's easier for the government to crack down on that. So there is a value in having the ID card. People will say, well, I don't want the government to have this information on me. The government have that information on you anyway. You know, we're not living in the 1990s anymore. Everyone has a smartphone. So, you know, if they want to find out where you are, they can find out where you are. Boris Johnson opposed ID cards in the 2000s, presumably because he didn't want authorities knowing how many children he needed to bail out for. Well said, Brad. It was like, you know, somewhere in it, was it a three figure number, or was it a 4-figure number? You know, Boris Johnson needs to, you know, get the snip. No, he needs to tie a knot on that thing. He just can't help himself. Which begs the question: what do women see in Boris Johnson? I honestly don't know. You know, is he some sort of, you know, as I'd ask my wife, is he like Henry Cavill? Is Boris Johnson like Henry Cavill? Probably not. Is it the money? Well, he has a lot of money, but a lot of it goes on childcare, I imagine. Is it the status? Well, he's no longer prime minister. So what is it that attracts women to Boris Johnson? I don't know. Is it his physique? I don't know. Somebody said he looks like, I'm not saying this. I'm in no position to criticize anyone's appearance, but somebody said that he looks like, what is it? A pillowcase filled with shaving foam or something. Or a sack filled with custard or something like that. Wine glasses. That's it. He has a huge parsnip in the garden, I hope. The same as women see in Bezos. Yes, he has a lot of money. You know, you could sort of see the understanding there. Mystery to me, Max. I don't understand either, Suzanne. Johnson's blubber. Blah, blah, blah. He does that thing, doesn't he? Oh shit, it's a tricky island. Home Office issues asylum people an ARC card in the UK. So it's a type of ID card. I'm not familiar with ARC. Thanks so much, QA Library. His ability to talk to brain dead lassies and make them feel noticed. Maybe that's it. Could be the appeal of Roger Rabbit to Jessica Rabbit. He makes me laugh. Maybe that's it. But then, you know, when you're looking around, you know, like, wait a minute, I'm laughing, but everyone else is crying. Maybe that's something. But for me, the worst thing about probably one of the worst things about Boris Johnson that he did, that I still can't understand how somebody would be attracted to him, was this idea that he burnt a £50 note in front of a homeless person in order to get into an exclusive club. Now, some people say that didn't happen, but would you be surprised if Boris Johnson did do that? No. You know, for most reasonable, if you have a friend, you say, he burnt a £50 note to get into an exclusive. No, John wouldn't do that. John isn't that type of individual. Most people are not, you know, psychopaths like that. But Boris Johnson, if I said Boris Johnson burnt a £50 note in order to get into the Bullington Club, would you believe that? I would. So that tells you more about Boris Johnson than the actual burning of the £50 note. Cameron Piggate. That's actually something that was not true, but it was something spread about him, allegedly. But then, these weird upper class clubs, you have to do all these sort of weird things in order to get in or to get out, maybe in some cases. Anyway, guys, we're almost at the end of the stream, so I want to say thank you so much to everyone who came on tonight. Thank you so much for your support, and thanks for tolerating my rant, because every 11th of July, if there's a live stream on, I'm going to be ranting about this until it's over, until the loyalist community wake up and go, hey, maybe we're the bad guys. Like that meme from that comedy show. Are we the baddies? So guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. I'm hoping to reach out to some people to do a live stream. Do you know Jimmy the Giant? So I've been reaching out to Jimmy the Giant. He's a big YouTuber on politics as well. So I'm hoping to do maybe a live stream with Jimmy. And some other people are in the pipeline as well. So, of course, if you know of somebody and you can send me a message on social media, DM on social media if you know somebody who'd be interested. I've been trying to get some Scottish politicians on, but they haven't got back to me. So if you know somebody in Scotland in politics, get them on to me and I'll do a live stream with them. So it'd be great. You should chat with Phil again. Yes, wonderful idea. Yeah, we can talk about what's happening at the moment. So guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. But before we go, we have our one for the road. So hope you enjoy this.
Welcome to Broken News. Panic and terror is spreading across the UK as millions of parents are gearing up to wonder what in shitting crikey they're expected to do for 6 whole weeks. You could say there's panic on the streets of London, panic on the streets of Birmingham. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. Our reporter has more.
Well, despite the precise starting date for the summer holidays being known a good year in advance, once again, parents have been expressing shock at how quickly it's come around. Yes, it's that time of year. The weather forecast for August has turned to dog shit. Campsites have upped their prices 4 million%, and for 50 quid a pop, a guy called Pedo Steve is letting 20 kids play with a tennis ball behind an abandoned QuickFit between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. and calling it PE camp. Now, yes, 1 second, darling. Yeah, I'll be with you in a minute, I promise. Not too long. Well, many mums and dads appear to be flabbergasted by children going from one school year to the next, with one saying to me, "Can you believe they're going to be in year 4?" Which I could believe because they have just been in year 3. Just give me a moment, darling. Yeah, I will. I promise I'll just be a minute. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, sweetheart. Yeah. Some parents are lucky, of course. They'll be handing off their little cherubs to the grandparents for 5 of the 6 weeks, then having a nice 5 days in Centre Parks in August, because presumably they're millionaires or something. Look, yes, my darling, I will be. Just 1 moment. Okay, we'll go for an ice cream afterwards, I promise you, okay? Yeah? Can you just give it, because I have to work? Okay, thank you, darling. Of course, thankfully, employers are really considerate at this time of year, and parents can rely on some Instagram twat to remind them to take time for self-care and for... Yes, okay, darling, please. Yeah, Daddy's got to... I know, yeah, it's a camera. That's a camera, that's a tripod. Yeah? Yeah, okay, I know, darling, just give me... We'll go and ice cream in a minute, okay? Okay, thank you, darling. Thank you, sweetheart. Well, one panicked mum told us, "There are only so many meaningless visits to little farms I can do, and I'll still never know the difference between a llama and an alpaca. And please, God, don't make me go to the play park. The kids always want ice creams, and the ice cream van there is selling just 2 ice creams with 2 chewing gums in it for bloody £9 for 2 of them. That is going to get nowhere. One that comes up my street, I want £1, a P or £2. That is going to get nowhere with that. And he only does bloody card. Stood there with my cash. Bloody hell, bloody well bad. Yeah, bet he can hear me." Well, earlier today I spoke to a representative of a campaign group calling for shorter school holidays.
Yeah, it's a really difficult time for many parents at the moment.
How can parents cope?
Well, there are several ways they can... Yeah, darling? Yeah, just working at the moment. Okay, all right, chap. Sorry, there are several things you can do. Perhaps club together in a parent... Yeah, okay, darling, sorry.
Don't worry about it.
It's great. I'll be with you in a second.
Yeah, I just need to speak to the nice man.
Take advantage of any special offers that are going on. Yes, I can see what you're doing. It's a big rocket.
Use your listening ears.
And I'm sorry, I've totally forgotten what I was saying.
Well, any other tips that you have from the...
Yes, okay. I see it.
No, darling, not on
Sorry
the
for raising my
trousers.
voice. Daddy, sorry
Just
for raising
please
my
let the
voice.
man
Yeah, Daddy's
talk.
working. He's just said he's working.
I'm
working at the
Darling,
moment. Daddy, sorry for raising his
talk.
voice.
I
Sorry.
do need to poo-poo now.
Well, as you can see from that conversation, it can be quite difficult to find a way through this... Can you just fucking fuck off for a minute? For a minute? Huh? Back to you.
Thank you. What a lovely story. Yeah, okay, darling. With you in a second. Daddy's working. Sorry. Daddy's working. Oh, wow, that is big. Yeah. What a lovely story. That's all from Broken News. You're up to date.
So, guys, have a great weekend. As always, stay safe, take care, and good night.